stand. Bruno Fernandes transfer deal to Manchester United is off again. We'll be bringing you the latest. There's been, look, what I would say straight away, I'm going to fly straight into this. Manchester United, it is common knowledge now that Manchester United have made a signing in the January transfer window. If anybody used to watch Sunday Supplement on Sky Sports on a Sunday morning, the presenter of that's called Neil Ashton. He also used to be the chief editor, sports editor for The Sun. Interestingly enough, last year he wrote articles about how incompetent Solskjaer was and how bad the board were. And he is now working for the club in a consultancy role to enhance the reputation of Manchester United and Ed Woodward. So we are going to see now a lot of, well, you could call it bullshit. You're gonna see a lot of spin out there. You're gonna see a lot of things going out about Manchester United to make you feel that things are going well because they've employed somebody to do it. That's the position Manchester United are in now. We're in an absolute mess, but we're paying somebody money to spin it. You know, it's politics. That's the world we're living in. So, but on Bruno Fernandes, there are lies. Somebody's lying about this deal because there are two different stories again tonight. There is a story that I've read in the Manchester Evening News, quoted I think from Neil Custis in The Sun, who does have links in with Manchester United, and then this Sky Sports saying something different. What I would say is, how does any of this benefit or encourage or comfort the people who matter the most, Manchester United fans? When I tell you this, it's not. It's just spin. It's spin. Why do they want positivity? So you put your hands in your pocket. It's spin, spin, spin all the time. And, you know, I expect to see Kylie Minogue walking around at any time, spinning around. But it's true because it is all spin. It's politics. And actually, this Bruno Fernandes deal shows that the United fans are right at the bottom of the pile when it comes to the Glazers, Ed Woodward and everyone else at Manchester United. We're not taken into account. It's all about saving a little bit of money because, what I would say as well is, Neil Ashton, if your plan is to make Ed Woodward look good, the door is open. The DMs are open. Get Ed Woodward on a United Stand show without a script, with an open conversation. If he really wants to be back in favour with the fans, no holds barred, question and answer with the United Stand. He won't do it. He won't bloody do it. He thinks he's better than that. In fact, instead, it'll all be PR spin. But look, if you want to get back on with United fans, don't spin us around. Talk to us. Zayn Miassi, I do not want to see Bruno in the Premiership, so it's a shame United are not buying him, as he could be the new Ronaldo, and Ronaldo is the greatest player of all time. Just hope Spurs don't buy him. I mean, look, in honesty, Zayn, he's not going to be the new Ronaldo because he's not that sort of player. And Michael Mairstar says Sporting rejected a £40 million bid, rising to £60 million with bonuses from Spurs. Why did Woodward and the Glazers think they'd do the same in January when Bruno has kept his form up this season? Right, Michael, look, let me just tell you this. The Bruno Fernandes story is this, and somebody is lying. This afternoon, I read it through Manchester Evening News, quoting The Sun, Neil Custis, who, I know The Sun aren't reliable, but he is quite good. And the story is, this deal is basically off because Sporting Lisbon want €80 million, which is £70 million. I know that's bollocks, but just bear with me. That's the story that's coming out. Remember what I said about spin? So Sporting Lisbon want €80 million, which is £70 million. But we know United won't go above 42.5. So why are we even talking to them if they want 70 and we won't go above 42? I mean, that's not far off being double, is it? So there's clearly something fishy about that straight away. Oh, Sporting Lisbon want €80 million, so we've walked away from the deal. Bollocks, bollocks, bollocks. Why are you holding out for 42.5 million if they want 70? You know, it's not even a bargain, is it? You just walk away. Yet you've been hanging around the deal for weeks. Sky Sports tonight have said that Manchester United and Sporting expected Manchester United to agree to a £55 million deal, and that's what had been agreed, but Manchester United have now retracted that deal and said that they'll only pay 42.5 because they know that Sporting Lisbon have got money worries. That, to me, sounds more realistic because Sporting Lisbon have always wanted €60 million, which is about 50 million quid. United want to pay €50 million, which is about 42 million quid. But lies are being put out there, and this is what I mean. You've got to be very careful now about stories about spinning a positive for United, because that story that, oh, we've walked away, we're the victim, they want €80 million for Bruno Fernandes. Oh, poor United, you're right to walk away. That's the story that they want. The reality is we won't pay any more than 42 million. We won't pay anything more. We will pay more on add-ons that are unachievable, like Ballon d'Or, Premier League, Land on the Moon. Nonsense add-ons that Sporting Lisbon will never get. Sporting Lisbon want 50 million quid. Just outright 50 million, which is what Bruno's worth. But we won't pay it. So what you're now getting is murky spin stories that contradict each other. Sky saying that Sporting had a deal in place for 55 and United have dropped it to 42. And The Sun and Manchester Evening News quoting that Manchester United had a deal for 50, but Sporting have knocked it up to 80. So, I don't believe any of them. To be honest, I don't believe anything because that's the mainstream media and we're getting very, very different stories. I think the truth is in the pudding. United don't spend much money over the last 4 transfer windows. Bruno Fernandes is worth 60 million euros. We don't want to pay it. That's the L, isn't it? And when it comes to Bruno Fernandes, can I just say this? I would love us to sign the player, but I do feel that we've been through the mill over the last 2 weeks on a deal none of us have expected. Initially, we got very excited about, and now they've zapped all excitement out of it, all passion out of it, and they've left us in this world where all we are now is in we're on spin wash in the washing machine as they try to spin their way out of this deal so that they can come out of it and go, wow, we won't be able to ransom, or they'll maybe get them on the cheap. They're the 2 scenarios we're facing now. We're going to get Bruno Fernandes on the cheap because we bullied Sporting Lisbon, or we're going to walk away and pretend that they wanted too much money. And then I guarantee in the summer, he'll go to Chelsea or Spurs or somebody for 55 million. And then we'll know the truth. But then they'll just say, they'll forget about that. Spin. We're on a spin cycle now. It's all about making Woodward and Manchester United not look as incompetent as they actually are. It's a bloody mess. And, whatever you think about Solskjaer, you've got to feel sorry for him on that. I mean, this player could be helping him out when that squad is stretched. And we're trying to save bits of money here and there because probably haven't got any money. More reason to grow the channel. All United fans should get the real picture of what's going on instead of being fooled. Woodward and his media scam, says Shaveen. And Ribar back here says, I hope Jose buys Bruno just to show us how bad Woodward is. And Shady Abanasa says, this saga becomes so boring. Reminds me of Gayton and Schneider back then. We're going to be linked every transfer. Yeah, but the thing is, Shady, Schneider and Gayton, we've got no concept of whether we were actually ever in for them. Bruno Fernandes, we have been negotiating for. They can't hide that. They can't pretend we weren't in for him because everybody, credible and non-credible, has said we've been working on this deal. We know United have worked on this deal and we know we need this deal. So if we don't get it, they've got to spin it into a positive. But as I said, in my cynical way, I think, look, fan channels are very different. Fan channels have got every right to talk about anything they want because we're just fans, whether it's our fan channel or another one. I've got no problem with that. But mainstream media, how can you have one media outlet telling one story and another one telling a different story? Like, they're mainstream media. Like, are we all just victims of what I'm saying is, if Manchester United weren't signing anybody this month, Manchester United's social interactions would be down, and so would, for example, Sky, BBC and Manchester Evening News. They'd be down. If Manchester United said on day 1 of January there's not going to be any transfers, 100%, we will never sign anyone, then people wouldn't be interested to read any transfer story. However, if Manchester United are linked to a player, and Sky are talking about it, and Manchester Evening News are talking about it, everyone's clicking it, and your interaction rate goes up, which means you can say to your advertisers, look at how much interaction we get in January, pay us to sponsor us. And it's all about, that's my cynical view on this. When you're getting 2 very different stories from mainstream outlets, I'm like, well, one of you's lying, or both of you are lying, or both of you are getting misinformation from, but where are you getting it from? So I'm very cynical of this. And who is the victim? Yet again, it's the fans. And I try really hard when we're doing transfer shows to tell you what's in the media. I always say that at the start. We talk about all the latest Manchester United transfer news and give it that real fan opinion. And that's what we try and do. So when we do a show, we talk about what the transfer is and we give our opinion on it because that's all we can do. And we try and establish where the truth may be. But it's very hard. It's very hard when you're being played like this. And as I said, Manchester United are employing somebody to spin a positive. Well, what spin? Bullshit. That's what it is. It's getting positives out there or twisting a negative into a positive. And all I see with this appointment of Neil Ashton, to be honest, unless I get proved wrong, is they're employing somebody to con us to make them look good. So as I said, the door is always open with the United stand. All we want is what's best for Manchester United. And if Woodward, Ashton, anybody else at Manchester United wants what's the best for Manchester United, get in a room and sit down with us and talk about it then. Because I'll talk with anybody who has a pop at this channel, community or anything like that. Our number one aim is fan opinion and what's best for Manchester United. And we will talk to anybody. You can paint us to be bloody whatever you like, but the reality is we will talk to anybody. And if you want to improve this football club, instead of spinning your PR crap, talk to us. Tell the bloody fans what it is that you're actually doing instead of hiding behind crappy little fake stories. Because I tell you what, enough is enough. And we're not even talking about on the pitch here. Enough is enough. And I'm disgusted. I'm absolutely disgusted with how we've got two very different stories tonight on the Bruno Fernandes scenario. Now, I believe we will sign him. I do think we're still going to sign him. But to be honest with you, if we don't sign him, I don't really give a shit anymore. I'm not bothered because I don't think Bruno Fernandes on his own anymore is going to make a massive amount of difference. Because I can see what we're doing on the pitch. There's talk of the dressing room being lost. There's a lot to talk about, actually. But we're lost as a football club. And Bruno Fernandes on his own is not going to change that. Magic Eye says, you really want change. Just stop going to games, empty stadiums, hit them in the pocket and you will see change. Complain all you want, no change. I don't think that would work, Magic Eye. I don't think that would work because people have been going to watch Manchester United for decades. They're not going to not go. Like, it's a personal choice to go to a Manchester United game. It's a personal choice to buy a shirt. If I was a dictator and everyone was going to do exactly what I said, which I don't want ever to happen, that's not what... I don't like that anyway. I believe in free speech. I believe in free opinion. And that's why I say the United stand can't do anything, really, because we can't tell people to not to go to a game. I would never do that. And you can't tell people to do anything. But when I see fans singing yesterday, I'm proud to be a Manchester United fan. When I see people walking out of the ground and it's empty nearly, I'm proud to be a Manchester United fan because they do send a message. But it's down to each individual who does that, whether they want to do that. You can't tell people to do that. It's up to them what they do. That's democracy. That's a fan base. This saga, we've read that from Shady Abenaza. And Roy Keane, simply the best. We are rapidly turning into another Arsenal. Yeah, we are. And Adams and Nicola says, so let me get this straight. We pay 80 million for Slabhead and he can't score a header to save his life. But we can't pay 70 million for a guy that brings goals and assists. And Jawin Daniel says the fan attack has to be systematic, a coordinated effort on social media to boycott sponsors and all brands associated with the club. The only people the board will answer to are sponsors. Yeah, unfortunately, you probably won't get that happening. And Evening Mark, the moment I heard he was trying to offload unhappy Gomez, useless Rojo and fourth choice keeper Pereira as part of the original deal, you just knew this was a crock of shit. That's from me. And Salah Ahmad says, Mark, I wanted to say Ollie and the Glazers and Woodward say it's all about the future, yet they are doing loan and short team deals, which is contradictory. I need to talk to you about a loan deal, actually. Matt Rush says, I'm really annoyed with Rio finally speaking his mind. Where was he 2 years ago? Proud to be at the game and the fans singing Glazers out. We must keep this up. Not sure 1408. The Glazers don't trust Ollie. They know we won't win the Europa and FA Cup even with Bruno, so why invest if you get nothing in return money-wise? Hashtag Glazers out. And Aidan G, have you read that it's Joel Glazer himself that pulled the plug on the Bruno deal? Well, Aidan, I'm glad you reminded me of this. Joel Glazer is being quoted as pulling the plug on the Bruno Fernandes deal. Joel Glazer. One of the Glazers has basically apparently said he's pulling the deal on the the deal for Bruno Fernandes because he doesn't like the way the deal is structured and doesn't think that the player's worth it. Joel Glazer doesn't think Bruno Fernandes is worth it. That I would trust my parrot over Joel Glazer to tell me about football, and he's been dead for 30 years. Like, I would not trust the Glazers. That story has to be bullshit, because if it's real, it's even worse than we thought. The Glazers are now telling people who can and can't be bought. I mean, they've got every right to do it because they bought our club, and how that happened is a disgrace. But Joel Glazer getting involved in that, the mind boggles. The mind boggles. It really does. And Old King Kong says, let's start a movement. Don't sponsor my club, where we tweet the likes of Chevrolet and Adidas. The bad press will make them unwilling to work with us and hit the Glazers' pockets and make them sell or invest. I think the only way out of this mess for the Glazers and Ed Woodward is to actually start communicating with people like you on the United stand and people like that, because otherwise you spin. I'm not going to believe any spin that United put out. I'm guaranteeing Neil Ashton's not watching this. Maybe someone can get him a copy. But if you are watching this, we're not going to believe anything you say, because we know you've been brought in to spin it. So if you want to spin this around, you're going to have to work very hard with the Manchester United fans to convince all of us, not just the Red Army, but, United Stand is the biggest Manchester United fan channel on YouTube and one of the biggest in the world. We're part of it as well. You're going to have to convince us. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way, because I'm speaking for all of you lot. Stop spinning it Start delivering it. Start where the power is, with the fans. The fans are the powerful people. Start talking to them and start listening to them and start talking this bloody fucking football club out, because it's all about money. It's all about spin. And we've had enough of it. We've had enough of it. And I think that's the only way out of it for the Glazers, to be honest with you. But I see things today, and DTWTF says, just cancelled my MUTV subscription until Ed and the Glazers leave my beloved club. Well, that's a personal choice. I'm not going to encourage people to do that. But look, thanks everybody who watched the video I did today. I was actually up at Old Trafford today, and we did the video with Sander and Flex about Ollie in or out. If you've not watched it, give it a watch after this. But thanks for all the feedback on that, because I think it resonated. I want to talk about Ollie in a minute, but I actually personally have got this wrong, because I thought after losing last night, United will definitely go and get Cavani and Bruno Fernandes now, because it's just PR. They don't want to get those players, but they have to get them to get the fans back on side, which is even more scary, really, because what if we had beat Burnley last night? We probably wouldn't be getting players. They'd go, oh, we'll be all right. So they're only doing it because they're desperate, not because they had a plan in the first place. And that angers me even more, that we might go and buy a couple of players now in the last week of the transfer window because we're panicking, not because we should have done anyway. But this link with what's his name? Not Tevez. I mean, the Tevez link. I ain't going to talk about bloody Tevez. Some story about United going in for Tevez. He is crap now. Has anyone seen Tevez play over the last 2 years? He's useless. He's absolutely useless. I'd rather get Solskjaer up front than him. But Ficino at Inter Milan. Uruguayan midfielder. Apparently this came out this morning. Now look, you don't need to understand who this player is. I mean, I do watch a bit of Serie A. I know a little bit about him. Effectively, I think he's about 28 now. He's a midfielder. He's about 6'1", I think, something like that. He's good at pressing. He's good at retaining the ball. He's not a creator. He'd basically get the ball, five, little passes here, retains possession, presses back. That right, okay, but on what planet is that a signing for Manchester United? I think he's 29 in the summer. He's surplus to requirements at Inter Milan. He's going to be 29 in the summer. In no way is this a player for us to buy, because he's not a creator. He's never played in this league before. He is basically a loan deal to get us through to the end of the season. There's no way we'd be signing this player. He's got no great top 4 calibre. He's not going to turn into a top 4 player. He's not even really an Inter Milan first teamer. He is a stopgap 4-month loan to the summer. When have we ever done something like that? That is such an amateur approach to a football club, to go scouting around Europe. Oh, he's not playing for Inter Milan. Oh, just get him in. Just get a body in. Like, how broke are we? How low is the money in the transfer budget if we are having to go for someone like Ficino? Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. And apparently Inter have said no anyway. But that is just crazy. That is just a crazy loan deal to do. Loan deals. We're doing loan deals. And I know for a fact, well, I don't know for a fact, but a few people have told me that that's what United have briefed a lot of the press anyway, that we're only looking to do loan deals. Like, who's doing loan deals in January? People who ain't got any bloody money, that's who. Have you read about Tevez? Would you be surprised, says Gerard Sweenwell? I've just discussed that, and I can't see that. I think it would be ridiculous. I'm sick of hearing about Boycott and not going to games. There's a fine line between making a stand and further hurting the club financially. For every person who will boycott, someone will go. Yeah, and for certain games, there's a queue, isn't there? Please do smash a like on the video. We've got a lot of people watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Luca Cantarelli, what a name, says, ignore everything in the media now. Actions speak louder than words, and the club has taken no action to get us out of this mess. All empty promises, from Luca. And Zayn Miassi, what about Olivier Giroud? I doubt Chelsea would give him up. But you know what? Just going back to that comment there about that Luca said about saying ignore everything in the media. Can I just bring you back to something here? And that is that, was it not Sky? And I'm not picking on Sky here. I think Sky Sports are good. But I think we've had a month of this. We've had a ridiculous month of this. Was it not Sky who said 2 weeks ago that Sky sources have told them that Samari will be leaving Lille at the end of the month and he'll be going to Chelsea or Manchester United? And yet Samari this week has basically said that he's staying. Who's giving Sky this information that it then goes on the yellow ticker? And I think I think as United fans, we've been through the ringer this month. We really have. Some of the stuff we've been told that's not true. some of the stuff that you believe because there's a reason, there's a track record to believe that then's not true. Some tier 1 sources who are saying one thing and another tier 1 source is saying the other. I mean, it's been, I've lived it, you've lived it watching this channel, but it's been ridiculous. And I think Luca's right. Who can you believe when the mainstream media... I mean, I'm cynical about this. I just wonder whether they're just putting stories out there now because, people will click that. People will watch that. Where's the decent journalism now? Like, is journalism just about regurgitating rumours? Like, there used to be real pride in journalism. And look, I'm not a journalist. We started this channel to talk about matches, and then it evolved into daily content, and then, we talk about transfers and that, but it's not really, it's just fan opinion on here. I'm disgusted. I'm really disgusted. And what's Manchester United's role in this? And like I say, when they're employing a PR expert, I just wonder about what we're going to get in the media now, because I think I know 7 or 8 journalists that are getting briefed by Manchester United Football Club. And I'm not going to shout them out. You probably know them all yourself. And every time they say something, I think they've been... Not every article they do, but when they do a certain article, I think, well, that's come from the club. And that's going to get a lot worse now. A lot worse now that you've got PR experts being employed. But anyway, possible to crowdfund a buyout by a non-profit organisation owned by the Spain supporters, each with an online vote for any major decision, says Lateral. Maybe. But very hard. We'll talk about that in a couple of days anyway. We've got something in the pipeline with that. Lewis John says, Mark, you're part of this. Well, haters are going to hate, aren't they? How am I part of this? How am I part of this? We run a fan channel. It's very clearly a fan channel. I tell you very clearly when I get information, and it isn't very often. What part of have I or the United Stand or any of you had in this ridiculous incompetence of Manchester United Football Club? I just think it's idiotic. I had somebody last night saying we're losing 2-0 to Burnley because I jinxed it. I mean, what world are we living in now? Manchester United are where they are because of the owners. 100%. There is nothing, whether it's, you can blame Solskjaer, you can blame players, but ultimately the people in charge of that football club have put it where it is. Fire Ollie, we end up in the same situation in 12 to 18 months, says Coriel. Glazers and Woodwards have turned a club legend into someone 90% of the fans hate. I disagree with that. I don't think anybody hates Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. He's a legend, and I love him for that. But he's a legend as a footballer. As a manager, he ain't no good. I have to say that, and it's very sad. Claire Rodriguez, according to Forbes, our operating income is £177 million. If that's true, doesn't look like much room for transfers. We're broke in that regard. I keep saying this, and some people don't want to believe me. I don't think Manchester United have got any money. I think we will have money in the summer, and that will be funded by Paul Pogba. But I'll talk to you about that in a moment. Sally Ahmed says, Ed Woodward and the Glazers know we needed players at the start of the window due to injuries, yet haggling over £5 million, which I think is unnecessary. Yeah, and as I said before, even if we do get, and welcome to the United Stand Members Club, Eno Black, even if we do get Bruno Fernandes eventually, and I still think we will do, by the way, I still think we will, but even if we do still get Bruno Fernandes, the crying, ridiculous, incompetent shame is that it should have been done on January the 1st. It should have at least been done on Monday, and he could have played last night. The points and losses we've had because we're trying to save 5 million is incompetent. Absolutely ridiculously incompetent. And, that's just where it is. But there's some interesting things to tell you. I mean, there was a story coming out this morning. I think it was the Independent. I may be misquoting them here, but it might have been the Telegraph. But they're saying that Manchester United, there's some dressing room unrest now. I had seen, I think it's Mac the Knife on Twitter, was saying this about a week and a half ago, that he'd heard that there'd been dressing room unrest at Manchester United. And to be honest with you, I would believe him about that. So there's going to be dressing room unrest at Manchester United. You can't just have Scott McTominay coming out every week saying, I love Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when the performances are like that. When you're not doing very well, you've got to find the reason for it. And if you're not playing well, very few players in my experience, are going to just look in the mirror and go, it's all on me. They're going to start thinking, is it on me or is it on the coaching? And they'll start looking at that. So fractures will start to appear in a team that's not performing. Unfortunately, history shows you that, whether it's football or anything else. When something starts going badly and it's a team effort, people will start to look for somebody to blame. And most of the time in football, it will be the manager. Hey, Mark, love the shows. Since obviously we ain't buying no one, where do you see us ending up by the end of the season, says Isa. I see dead bodies. Well, I think that with Manchester United is becoming the biggest joke in football history. Sad but true, says Turbitoon. If we don't sign anybody, I think Manchester United could go as low as 8th in the league and not win anything. I think we will sign somebody. I don't see how we can't. But yeah, I think that's what could happen. Zane says, Tyson Fury is a United fan. Let's get him to knock some sense into Woodward, literally. Well, no, we don't condone any violence on here. And as we've seen from some United journalists today, criticising some of the chants of the Manchester United fans who were saying things about Woodward and the Glazers last night. I mean, at the end of the day, Manchester United fans are very pissed off, and the club need to listen to that. Whether they like the chants and whether the chants have gone too far, that's for everybody else to make their decision about. But the reality is, if I was Woodward and the Glazers, as somebody who's had a lot of abuse on social media over the last 2 years, you've got to look at that and go, well, ultimately, why are they saying that? And I think in relation to them, it's because you've run the club. You're killing the football club. You are killing Manchester United Football Club. People aren't just chanting about you because of how you look. It's because of your actions. So, you might not like what people are singing, but they're singing it for a reason. I don't think any United fan is really going to build a bonfire. But they want those people out of the club at the moment. Who Me says, we've blown nearly £1 billion on transfers since Fergie. I know hard to take, but any businessman or owner at some point will say we won't get taken advantage of no more, or what the fuck is going on. At some point they will say no more, says Who Me. Yeah, but they wasted the money. They bought the wrong players and spent too much. I was reading what Phil Brown tweeted out earlier, and he said PSG, Manchester City, Chelsea over the years have been successful and they've overpaid when they've been desperate for a player. You can't suddenly get a moral backbone when you are desperate and on your knees and need those players. When you need a player like Bruno Fernandes, you can't say, well, we're not paying you a fair price because we've been treated badly in the past. And then when Sporting Lisbon go, well, you're not having him then, go, oh, we wanted him though. They won't do it. Sometimes when desperate people would have to overpay. I said this before, if you've got a fiver in your pocket and you're absolutely starving hungry, and every fast food outlet, it's 3 o'clock in the morning, is closed, apart from, Chippy Chicken, and he's closing up for the night, and he says, I'm not going to give you anything, and you go, oh, fiver, and he goes, well, you can have, I'll take it for a fiver, I'll give you a bag of chips, and you see, well, it's £1 normally, and well, you take it or leave it. I'm not bothered, I'm closing up, but there are some chips there if you want them, I'll heat them up, but it's a fiver for my time. Yeah, but it says £1 there. Well, what are you going to do? You're starving hungry. Do you want these chips or not? You're going to walk off hungry because you've got a moral backbone, or are you just going to give the money because you're desperate for the food? And that's what Manchester United are. We are desperate. So morals go out the window. We're desperate. We're in the worst position we've been in the Premier League era. It's not the time to get a backbone over a player that you need. Sometimes you have to overplay in football. I feel sorry for that kid yesterday on his 18th birthday, says Young Khan. And also, we blown £90. Let me just quote you something from the Times here. This was quite interesting. There's a few things I still need to get through, actually. Please do smash a like on the video, by the way, everybody. Thanks for all the comments. This is quite an interesting one. It was from the Times, and they're saying that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to be given the time. And this is coming from Manchester United via the Times, apparently. I don't know whether it's genuine or not. But they're saying that Manchester United feel that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs the time to bring in the players he needs to implement his counter-attacking football. Let that settle a minute. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, Manchester United feel that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs the time and money to bring in the players he needs to implement his counter-attacking football. Yeah, that's what I thought as well. So we're going to give him more money and more players to play the same shit we've been playing all season, counter-attacking football. Now, I know that Sir Alex Ferguson used to play counter-attacking football. Predominantly in his last few years, he used to do it away from home in Europe. And he used to do it even as far back as the late 90s against Arsenal sometimes. Because, you know, they were a better footballing team than us in the way they moved the ball. But we could beat them because you find a way to beat them. And counter-attacking football does have its place. But when counter-attacking football is your plan A as Manchester United Football Club, you shouldn't even be Manchester United manager. You know, we are not a counter-attacking football club as plan A. Counter-attacking football can be part of your strategy and you can use it in certain circumstances. But you've got to play a way to win a game. You can't play counter-attacking football against 90% of the Premier League. So that is one of the weirdest statements I've ever seen. We've got to get him more players so that he can play his brand of counter-attacking football. My God. I don't know what that's all about. But also, the Times go on to say that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer wants 6 players and Manchester United have told him that the funds are available. Those 6 players are 2 midfielders, an attacking midfielder, a striker, a right winger and a fullback. I mean, do you have any faith that we'll actually do that? United are corporate America at its worth. When leaders tighten purse strings, no going back. I wouldn't if I were them. Easy money. It says eyes are planets. Also in the news as well, Cavani and Bruno. We've spoken about Bruno. Cavani. I mean, look, there's no way we'd be going to Cavani if we weren't desperate. So let's see if we can do anything about that. And also Juve, Chong. Apparently they've pulled out of a deal for Chong because they don't want to go for his wage demands. Paul Scholes has spoken about Paul Pogba. He said that he won't help when he comes back because he wants out of the club. Look, Paul Scholes is another legend of Manchester United, isn't he? But he's a legend for what he did on the pitch. We don't have to listen to everything that he says or agree with everything that he... Well, we should listen to it because he's a legend, but we don't have to agree with it. There's clearly an issue with Paul Pogba. So many people are talking about Paul Pogba even though he's not playing for us. All I would say about Paul Pogba is... Why do people dislike Paul Pogba this season? I always go back to this on Pogba. I've got no problem with any United fan or Scholes saying Pogba is no good or he's no good for the team or anything like that. I haven't got a problem with that. But let me just rewind you to the summer. We needed midfielders. Paul Pogba said he wanted to leave. What did Manchester United do? They didn't buy midfielders and they forced Paul Pogba to stay. Who's at fault there? They had an asset in June who said he wanted to go. We could have sold that asset for 120 million quid, 150 million quid maybe. And we could have used that money to buy midfielders. But we didn't. We said, your mate Lukaku, he wants to go, we're letting him go. But you're not going, and we're not buying any midfielders either. Paul Pogba spends most of the season injured. United's season falls apart. And week after week after week, we have people going in on Paul Pogba. What has Paul Pogba done wrong? Really? I look at this pragmatically. What has Paul Pogba done wrong? He's been legitimately injured for most of the season. So what can he do there? He tried to bring himself back when injured because bloody Ollie was playing him injured and got injured again. He asked to leave in the summer and the club wouldn't let him go. Yet, people from week to week to go, Pogba this, Pogba that. The guy said he wanted to go through his agent and we forced him to stay. And he's been injured. Like, whatever you think about him, it's not like he's sat there, I just want to stay here and make my money. He wanted to go and we forced him to stay. So why keep using Paul Pogba as an excuse when he didn't even want to be the excuse? You know what I'm saying? Again, it goes back to, surprise, surprise, King Woodward and the Glazers. Probably Joel Glazer again. Who knows? I don't know. Zayn Miassi says, Americans are idiots, threatening us with sanctions and Kroenke and Glazers destroying our great clubs. Well, I don't think that's right. I don't think Americans are idiots. I think they're a good nation, a great nation, in fact. Unfortunately, I think there's a coincidence that Arsenal have got American owners that aren't that good, and Manchester United have got terrible owners who are American as well. But American owners own Liverpool. They're doing a very, very good job. Mark, the Glazers and Man United have single-handedly given me depression and me go blind watching them play, says Leaf. I hope you haven't actually gone blind, Leaf. And Connor Brooks says, counter-attacking football, they may as well be building to compete with Brighton. This makes me so sad what has happened to our club. And Gerard Twimmy says, someone tell that Ollie counter-attacking football isn't a philosophy but an in-game tactical reaction. Exactly. It isn't a philosophy. You're right. But look, you know what it all goes back to? It goes all back to this, that Manchester United are still in a situation whereby, as a football club, we are run by people who do not know football. And that is as simple as it gets. Manchester United do not know football because the people that are running that football club, and look, you know, maybe Joel Glazer hasn't pulled the plug on a Bruno Fernandes deal. I'd never heard that Joel Glazer was involved in transfer deals at all. Maybe he hasn't. Maybe it's still going to happen. I still think it will happen. I just think, you know, what I think Manchester United are trying to do is bully Sporting Lisbon into a deal. And even if they do bully them into a deal, is it not too late anyway, because we've dropped too many points in that process? So yeah, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see how it happens and what happens with it. But from a Manchester United point of view, it's the worst. Look, I was up at Old Trafford today. I was talking to people in Hotel Football. I had a coffee in there. Some people who'd been staying out overnight, talking about it, and the amount of people who were saying, "I've never known it this bad. I've never known it this bad." And you know, there's people talking about the 70s, and like, we got relegated in the 70s, and people are saying, you know, it might even go. We may even go that way. So yeah, it's not a great situation, is it? But look, that's where we are. Lots to discuss, lots to go forward. Of course, as I spoke about this morning, United want to keep Solskjaer. They want to stick by him. Of course they do. Of course they do. Why should I care about that? You know, the same people that are sticking by Ollie are the same incompetent people who have made mistake after mistake after mistake in the transfer window and in recruitment of managers and coaches. So, you know, if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and sat at home tonight, it's great that they're backing you, Ollie, and it's great that they're going to keep you in a job. But that's no blue tick, mate. That's no verification. You know, wow, the Glazers are backing you. Great, they've got a brilliant track record, haven't they? I mean, they're just a circus act. I've got no, you know, obviously it impacts on us because we're going to have to put up with this same regime for the next however long. But it's crap anyway, isn't it? Like, I don't know what the solution is. I don't know what the change point's going to be, because unless the only thing, and I've been saying this for a while, is a reset. Manchester United need to hit. You know, like when your Wi-Fi is not working and you unplug it, you leave it for a minute and you plug it back in. Or, you know, sometimes you have to stick the bloody, like a pen in to hit that reset button. That's what United need to do. We need a reset. And when you reset, you've got to wait a little bit for it to reset. The reset button for us is Glazers sell. And we get owners in who want to really make us good on the football pitch. I don't think the Glazers are ever going to do that. Take a look at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They've just had their worst decade in their history under the Glazers. So they are not going to overnight suddenly go. I mean, you've got plonkers saying it, haven't you, on radio? United need to go and spend 300 million in the next 9 days and buy 5 players. I mean, that's just fantasy. That sort of comment doesn't help, does it really? Because that's just a fantasy comment. Like, what's the real situation? What's really happening with Manchester United? Are the Glazers anywhere near selling us? No. So what's the future? Are the Glazers suddenly going to go, you know what? We've been so focused on making money and bleeding that club dry for the last 15 years. Really, we should pump that money back in to make them good on the football pitch. You know how stupid that sounds actually when I say it? Because it is stupid. They're not going to do that. They're not going to suddenly go, you know what? They're singing about us. We better go and get a load. Write an empty cheque for Ollie. Come on, let's go. And even, you know what? Even if they had the brains to do that, which they don't, would you give a blank cheque to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer anyway? So it's so convoluted and messed up. It's hard to know what's going to happen. We should get Adama Traore in if we can. Sancho is destroying Liverpool as we speak, says God Henke. If we don't sign Bruno and sign Bellingham instead for 30 million, it proves we are Brexit FC, says William Jolly. Nick P, so far our first bit of spin is to show the world the Glazers care by telling us they are involved in transfer negotiations. We can't even spin that properly. Ryan Cave says there's no game out there at the moment where I think that's going to be an easy game. When will the board realise performances on the pitch also makes you money? Exactly. And Adnan Bashir says if we really had the aim of winning the league or Champions League, we would have got a sporting director by now. Exactly. Well, look, let me just have a quick check actually. We have an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference tomorrow morning, and that is for the what? Well, I don't know who it's going to be. That's why I'm checking on my phone. So we will be live for that tomorrow morning at about 10 o'clock. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's press conference reaction. It's going to be interesting to what he says. See if he says anything in that. It's currently 1-0 to Tranmere in for that. But Watford have put out a very weakened team. So, it's 1-1 in that now. It's actually just 1-1. Watford have just equalised. So we don't know who we're going to be playing in that yet. But yeah. Let's see what happens. Hey Mark, surely what we are doing with Bruno will happen to us with Pogba in the summer, especially if you're right that we don't have the money, says Jonathan Duffy. Well, yeah, how long is it going to take them to negotiate the Pogba deal in the summer? Marcus might take a look at what's going on and will want to protect his England spot, and the likes of Barcelona and Real Madrid might see a chance to jump in. Look, if Marcus Rashford links up with Mino Raiola, it's curtains. He's gone, isn't he? He's going to be gone at some point. Thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video. Lots of you watching. We're back in the morning at 10 a.m. for the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer press conference reaction. Obviously we'll go live later on tonight if anything happens. I don't expect it to be honest. United are subsiding the loss, making Glazers empire, says Megan's dad. Thanks for the contribution there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. I feel like we need to do a call-in tomorrow night, to be honest. Should we do a call-in tomorrow night? I think we need to. 8 o'clock tomorrow night we'll do a call-in as well, yeah? We need to get some people on and get some opinion. But thanks everyone for watching. Smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new, and if you didn't see my video with Xander and Flex outside Old Trafford this afternoon actually, talking about Ollie in or Ollie out, lots of good feedback on that. We cover both sides. Make sure you go and give that a watch. It's on the homepage. Speak to you all soon. Thanks everyone. Hang in there. The most important thing of all is you lot, United fans. We can't walk away. Even though the future looks so cloudy, we can't walk away. This is our football club. This is our football club. We can't walk away. We've got to be part of the conversation. And the club need to realise that. Thanks for watching. Our love for the club is what makes us angry. You know, we're not angry because we just feel like it. We're angry because this is the worst position the club has been in the Premier League history. And we're sinking further. Thanks for watching. Speak to you all soon.